Okay, so I'm Myra Wilk. I am the town moderator, and I will be chairing the meeting on Monday. Some people that are here this Tuesday, Monday I won't be there, but I will be there Tuesday the 17th at 6 o'clock, and we will be at Memorial School. Some people that are here this evening to help with any questions that may come up. We have the chairman of the Finance Committee, Mr. Justin Duval, town clerk Haley Meswar, our interim town administrator Ken Walto, our financial director Ashley Sacco, and the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, John Duval. It's going to be fun that night. In the back, we have the treasurer, Kelly Rice. We have the full-time assessor, Paula Wheeler. We have the vice chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Ann Bartlett. Did I miss anybody? So we're going to get started. Before we get started, I wanted to point out for those who are new, any new town meeting members tonight? Okay. If you go out on the town's website, you will find under the, I think it's under the Finance Committee?
Town meeting.
Or under the town meeting. And over on the left, there is a link to the Citizens Guide to town meeting. So if you want to go out, look at that, download it, whatever. It is a very general guide put out by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We do pay attention to everything, but it does say in here that some towns do things a little differently. So I just wanted you to know that that is available. So we're going to start with the town meeting overview. So, town meeting is like the Congress of Adams. You are the legislative branch. The definition of what town meeting is can also be found in the town charter. The town meeting members, their job is to approve, amend, or reject spending proposals and policies. It's not just to say yes to what's in front of you. Like Congress, you should ask questions. Well, maybe not like Congress, but you should ask but you should definitely ask some questions, okay? Argue points, raise objections. Adams has 150 town meeting members, 30 from each precinct. We have 5 precincts in town. Each member represents their precinct at town meeting, but they also represent the overall town interests. So, how do you become a town meeting member? Contact Haley, and she will help you out. Typically in January, she'll ask what your precinct is. If you don't know, you can ask if there are any open seats. She'll let you know. Are there any current members that are up for re-election? There may be, and I know in precinct 4, because that's my precinct, there may be openings for a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year term. So if you're interested, you will request nomination papers, and you need to get 10 registered voters from your precinct to be put on the ballot. And the election in Adams is always the first Monday in May. And then...
Or the second.
Hmm?
Or the second Monday. Oh, the elections.
The election. Yeah. So the election is the first Monday in May. And let's see. So how do you know if you've made town meeting? Check your mailbox. You'll usually get a postcard, or Haley will contact you. You can contact her, just give her a few days to get through things. You'll find out, to prepare for town meeting, you'll get a postcard. You all should have gotten one saying when there's the town meeting date and time. You will also get the Finance Committee report. And along with the Finance Committee report, as you found in this one, you will also get a paper talking about the workshop. So we have that. Mark your calendars, do your homework, talk to people. You go to town meeting on the 17th at 6 o'clock, and you check in. As you come in, it'll either be Kelly or Haley or somebody will check you in so that we know who's there, and then we have to make sure we have a quorum. The way the gym is set up, there are 2 sets of black chairs on the floor. Town meeting members should be sitting in those chairs. Non-town meeting members should be sitting on the side. There's usually some, right now, brown chairs or bleachers available. The town officials, the 2 Mr. Duvals, Ashley, Mr. Walto, and other members of the Board of Selectmen will be sitting up front next to me. and Haley. So how do you participate? That's funny. It's not a fashion show or a reality TV show. It is a legislative body. There are rules to town meeting. If you want to speak, we have a microphone set up. You approach the microphone. You may have to wait in line. I'll recognize you. You state your name and your precinct. Address your questions to me, and I will call the necessary people to answer the question. You should avoid talking directly to either the chairman of the board or the town administrator. It's usually Madam Moderator, through you too, and then I will call on the appropriate person. So let's go a little bit further into this. So my job is to chair the meeting, recognize people who want to speak at the town meeting, maintain control of discussion, motions, and amendments. I appoint town meeting members, usually 2, to help with accounts in case we need a standing vote, or if I can't decide between on a voice count vote, it's too close, we will have a standing vote and the tellers will count and report to the town clerk their findings. And then I also appoint the finance committee in town. Okay. Haley. So the town clerk, she records, she has a book, she records who is in attendance to assure that we have a quorum. She records all the motions and amendments and votes. She makes sure that the town meeting has been properly posted. She provides the town meeting, at town meeting she'll stand up and she will read what's called the return of the constable. And that's what the constable states, that he has properly posted the meeting in public places. We do annually award town scholarships. The town clerk will award those, and she will announce the dedication of the annual town report. The Board of Selectmen. Mr. John Duval, on behalf of Board Selectmen this year, will be answering questions that may be directed to the Board of Selectmen. He can, if he wishes, yield to another member of the Board of Selectmen to answer on behalf. All members of the Board of Selectmen are ex officio town meeting members if they have not been elected as town meeting members, and they can vote on all warrant articles. The interim town administrator, Ken Walto.
What an awful picture.
I had timing.
May answer questions on the day-to-day business of the town. And usually what happens is somebody will either say through me to the town administrator and I will call on him, or he may say to the chair, through me to the chairman of the board, and then John would yield to the town administrator to answer any questions on the day-to-day business. Town council, our town council is KP Law. They will answer any legal questions that come up. They assure that the votes have specific requirements. Some votes can be simple voice votes. Others have to be a 2/3 majority, things like real estate. We were transferring real estate. So it's very important that we get those right. And then he assures that every article that is in the book is in proper legal form, and at the time, if there are any amendments on the floor, he assures that they are in proper legal form before we vote on them. That's a very nice picture. Okay, the finance director / town accountant is Ashley Sacco. She may be called upon, and it has happened frequently lately, to explain the impact of the tax rate of specific articles or amendments. She provides the town administrator, the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, expenditure estimates, revenue estimates, and balances in all accounts as they start to prepare for the budget and put the budget together for your review and approval. The Finance Committee. The Finance Committee, you'll notice in your book, at the bottom in italicized print, makes recommendations on all articles of the town meeting. Mr. Justin Duval, the chairman, will be representing the Finance Committee at town meeting. The town meeting currently votes the recommendations of the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee can make no recommendation on certain articles that do not take into account an appropriation of money. So this is all about you, town meeting members. The town meeting, as I said, is 150 members who are elected. We have a represented town meeting. 30 are elected from each of the Adams 5 precincts. Town meeting members may amend articles from the floor. Then we will vote up or down any recommendations of, town meeting members will vote up or down the recommendations of the Finance Committee, and town meeting members are the final vote for articles. So who knows that you made it to town meeting? The town clerk will be at the entrance to the town, to the building. She will record who is there, and she will report at the beginning of the town meeting to me the number of town meeting members present to be sure there was a quorum. We need 85 town meeting members present for a quorum. If we don't, we try to get 85 members there. If we are, and if it's happened, and if we are unsuccessful in doing that, then we cannot hold the town meeting.
So it's important if you attend, or to let me know if you're not going to be able to attend.
So you have an idea. So where do you see? As I said earlier, you'll see that town meeting members sit in the center, and then we have the public to the side. We used to have it where there was a stage over at the school. There's no stage. I just stand right there.
We're all at the same level.
Well, I have a little stool. So the warrant. So this warrant is issued by the Board of Selectmen to call a town meeting. So they issue the warrant. The written notice must be given 7 days before an annual town meeting and 14 days before a special town meeting, which shall state the time, the place, and the subjects to be acted on. If you've been following the news, you notice Dalton had to postpone their special town meeting because it wasn't properly posted. So it's very important we follow these rules. So what's in the town meeting warrant? The warrant lists an agenda of items to be voted on by those present. At a representative town meeting, anyone may attend, but only meeting members, you elected people, are allowed to vote. So there are certain sections on the warrant, also known as the agenda. They can be the annual operating budget, adjustments to bylaws, or anything else that may come before the town meeting. Certain sections, administration, animals, building construction, personnel, streets and sidewalks, zoning. So, articles that are going to be on the June 17th warrant are the annual articles, operating, and we'll go through these individually. The annual articles, the operating omnibus article, the sewer enterprise fund article, capital articles, regional school assessments for Hoosick Valley Regional School District and the Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District, transfers to special funds, the annual authorization articles, special articles, and citizens petition.
There's one citizen's petition.
And in this case, we do have one
Which is-
citizen's petition under the special.
Under the special.
Yeah.
Citizen petitions. So residents may place an article on the warrant by petitioning to insert them. Petitions require 10 registered voter signatures. Those signatures are validated by the town clerk. If we were to have a special town meeting, which this is not, it would require 100 registered voters. So how do you hold a warrant article? There's maybe something in there that you want to talk about. You would stand from your seat, raise your hand, state your name and your precinct, and ask if the article be held. After we've gone through all, in this case, 23 articles, any articles that are not held, we will vote en masse. We'll just vote them. And then we will go back to the articles that are held in order. Amendments. If you wish to hold an article but you want to amend it, your amendment must be in writing. It's very important that the accuracy of the amendment is reflected so that not only can people understand what they're voting on, but the town clerk can provide an accurate record of how you want the article amended. Any town meeting member may offer an amendment even if you haven't held the article. Say, Mr. Nowicki holds an article, it's seconded by Mr. Meswar, and then Mrs. Taylor decides she wants to amend it. Great. She can do that. Bless you. So if we have an amendment, it's seconded, discussion ends, we vote the amendment first. And then, if the amendment passes, we go back to the original article as amended. If the article fails, we go back to the original article and carry on from there. Questions? Okay. Can I participate in discussion if I don't hold the article? Absolutely. Raise your hand, stand up, I will recognize you. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 hands and I will point out who's going to go in which order. And you will come to the microphone, ask your question, make your statement. We have to be polite. We cannot point fingers or be disrespectful of anybody. Just keep it to the article. And if discussion starts going really long and we're just starting to repeat each other, I can and I have. Let's just stop the discussion and we move on to the vote. How many articles can you hold? As many as you want. So just stand up and hold them. Must I ask questions at the microphone? Oh yes, you must. And the reason is because we want everyone to hear what is being asked. We have a professional we have the sound guy. So we have a professional sound guy who comes in. You don't need to adjust the microphone with your hands. He has the ability from his iPad or tablet to adjust the microphone. So you don't need to worry about it. If you're too tall or whatever, he just does his magic and everybody will hear you. Don't be intimidated. Get up, say what you have to say. It's your meeting. Why are they both standing in voice votes? It really depends on the article. Some votes require a very specific 2/3 or 4/5 vote, and if we have those, we have to be absolutely accurate at the count. So there'll be times when we may have to call for a standing vote. If it's simply yes or no and it's an overwhelming yes, there's no reason to make everybody stand up. If you're unable to stand up from your seat and we have to have a standing vote, just let the teller know. Don't try to stand up, sit in your seat, raise your hand, and let the counter know how you want to vote. We don't want anybody having an issue there. I will ask the tellers to count the votes. They report to the clerk the numbers of yeses, the number of noes, and then I report them to town meeting, and then it decides if it passes or fails. Questions? Oh, questions all up, okay.
I'd like to know, when do you decide a standing vote versus a vocal vote?
So a standing vote is usually for transferring real estate, which we don't have.
Sometimes if it's really close.
Yeah,
Like,
if
you
it's
can't
really
tell
close.
between yays and nays.
Right.
But do you tell the members before the vote that it's going to be a verbal or a standing?
Yes,
You do?
we do. Now, to that point, it's very difficult to be up front and have side chatter. I know, town meeting members are either talking to each other and they may miss things, or at times we've had them get up out of their seats and go over and talk to somebody on the side. So it's really important that you are focused on what is being said, because we've had times where people have missed the direction because of side chatter, or they're up out of their seats. But yes, we do let you know which way we're going to go. Diane?
My question is, if someone is in doubt and you have a voice vote and somebody wants to call that, how do they do that?
Somebody questions, appeals my decision on a
Yes,
voice vote?
yes.
You stand up and you ask for an appeal on the vote.
And can you ask for a standing vote too?
If you appeal the vote,
Yeah,
and you appeal the vote, then I got to verify this, but then we get a second on the appeal, and then it's 2/3 majority, I can't believe I'm doing this, 2/3 majority for the appeal to go from a voice vote to a standing vote. If that passes, then we go to the standing vote.
There's also the occasion where you may not be able to tell.
Right.
Then someone can say, request a
Right.
voice vote, or a standing vote, I'm sorry.
Yep.
And you agree, and then
Yeah.
all those in favor, please stand, you got your
Right.
counters.
Yep.
So that could happen relatively quickly.
It does.
Just somebody saying, I recommend a standing vote, most of the time you'll recommend it, you just can't tell.
If I can't tell, I'm the first one to go, I can't tell. We're gonna stand up, and we're gonna do a standing vote.
So one of us can't tell, and you determine that it was a clear yay or a clear nay. Then I could say, could you, what John just said?
Yeah. You can appeal. You can appeal.
I can't just ask, could we do a standing vote? I thought that's.
You have to
okay.
appeal the voice vote.
Okay.
It's the technical way of doing it. But 9 times out of 10, I will tell you, if it's close and I can't get it, I'm the first one to say, let's just stand up and make it very clear to people. 'Cause I don't want any questions, I don't want the town clerk to have to handle any questions about it. Other questions? Yeah?
Are the general public allowed to ask questions at the town meeting?
They can ask questions. They have to follow the rules of the town meeting, and they can't be disrespectful. They have to be specific to the article on the floor. Okay, so they can't just get up there and just babble on about something else. That's not how it is. They have to be specific. They cannot vote, but they can ask questions specific to the article.
I thought, that may be incorrect, but I thought that anyone that speaks other than the individuals you have named and town meeting members, that a town meeting member can request to have someone else speak. So if I wanted somebody out there in the stands, that they had something to discuss, but they weren't a town meeting member on the subject that we're going over, maybe the owner of the apartment building, let's say. We'd like to have that person come forward and give us more specific information. So I will request that through you, you'll say, yes, that's fine, and the person will come up and do that. So no one can just come up and ask a question, really somebody
They need to
from,
be recognized.
well, a town meeting member needs to ask you first if this person can speak. I think that's the way it works.
So,
Which from what I've read and been there, but
I mean,
something we can check
the-
on.
I talked with KP at the last town meeting because there is a place in the charter that says anyone can speak at town meeting. The process that we have practiced, and the lawyer has said that he agrees with the practice, is to do exactly what you said, which is to yield.
Right.
So,
The precedence, he goes by precedence
Yeah.
a lot, but we can verify.
so, but, yes,
Well, yeah.
a non-town meeting member can speak. I will probably ask for someone to yield. So if it's like you know someone who wants to speak to an article, and I cannot stress this enough, it's to the article, through me, and then we'll recognize them. And if they don't stick to the article, they will be asked to sit down. Bottom line. Yep,
So just to clarify, it's good etiquette, it's precedent to have somebody that's a town meeting member yield their time.
yep,
But it sounds like if that doesn't happen, a non-town meeting member could still, if you recognize them.
if I
ask a
recognize them.
question.
They
Okay.
can't just get up and walk up to that
Understood.
microphone. That's just, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Anything else for questions? Eugene?
So if someone's up there speaking and they're going off the point of the article and you don't recognize that, can somebody from the audience stand up and say, point of order? and say-
Absolutely.
Okay. then
So-
say-
We'll talk to point of order. Okay. So there's two things. You can do exactly what Eugene said and say, point of order. That immediately ceases the discussion. It ends right there. We don't continue, we go to the vote. If somebody says, call the question, which is different, if they want to call the question, discussion does stop, but we have to vote on the call of the question. And that is a 2/3 majority vote, and that would require a stand. So if someone calls the question, it gets seconded, we have a standing vote. If that passes, all discussion ends, and we go to vote the article. If it fails, discussion on the article can continue. Yep,
Myra, if somebody calls the point of order, do they have to explain why they're calling it a point of order?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
But it would be helpful.
but it's helpful.
Okay.
They don't have to, but if you say point of order, and you know, like, okay, this has gone on enough, he's off topic, whatever, that is helpful to other town meeting members.
Okay.
Okay? All right. A disclaimer. So, tonight is not to evoke debate on the content of the individual articles. We'll save that for town meeting. Tonight is merely to give you a basic explanation, a high overview of what the articles are themselves. Please, ask questions. Contact a selectman, contact the interim town administrator, contact the department heads. John's information is up here, Ken's information is up here. To get to the department heads, call the main number and work your way through. Okay, so in your book, here we go. So the first 4 articles in the book are called the annual articles. They appear every year. Articles 1, 2, and 3, we're just going to move through because there is no business on any of them. And Article 1 would be to choose all other town officers not previously chosen by ballot. Before we made a change to the charter, we used to have to elect annually the measurers of wood and bark and the fence people, so we don't do that anymore. Article 2 is available for the selectmen or any other town officials to give a report to the town meeting as required by law. If the Board of Selectmen had convened a special a special meeting or commission, this would be where they would report out to town meeting. Article 3 is for any town board to give a report to the town meeting, very similar. Article 4 is the first one in your book on page 9. This is to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all elective officers of the town in accordance with the provisions of Section 108, Chapter 41 of the general laws as amended, and to see if any said salaries and compensation shall be increased or take any other action in relation thereto. The salaries for the Board of Selectmen, the salaries for the full-time and part-time boards of assessor, the salary for the full-time treasurer collector, the salary for the full-time town clerk, the Board of Health members, cemetery commission, and the moderator. Questions on that? Whoa, look at my hand. So Jim Taylor was first, Peter caught you, and then we'll go over to
Okay, this is to Justin. This is no debate. Why did you not recommend 4 and 5?
So let's stick with 4, and then we'll get to
Okay.
5.
So it's gonna be Articles 4 through 6, but before I get into it, do we wanna give a little background? Either from the,
Can I just say, are we really gonna talk about the content of these articles? Finance committee person, sorry. So we have reasons that we did not recommend those 3 articles, but I think what you
Which
said
needs to be
was
at
that
town
we
meeting.
need to say
Okay,
it at
that's how
town
you're gonna
meeting.
understand the article if you, just no debate. All you gotta do is say why you didn't recommend 4 and 5.
So it's basically because we didn't agree with the salaries. And we can get into it at town meeting,
And
but
the
that's why.
discussion on
And-
that will be at town meeting.
Right. And there are elements of Article 5 that we also thought needed some
The reason why I
discussion.
say this is because there's very few times 4 and 5 have been brought up. And all of a sudden, out of the blue,
I know,
you're not recommending them.
I know, we know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Peter.
So my question is, this will also apply to the following ones, but for 4, if we don't vote for this, the current salaries stay in place?
Well, it's just an adjustment.
Right, so then there's no adjustment. If we vote no,
Sure.
that means the adjustment doesn't
Sure.
happen.
If you agree
Sure.
with the way it's currently written, the way this article is currently written, yes, if you agreed with this, then these salaries that are listed would be what they are.
And if I vote no, then the salaries don't change.
Right.
Yeah, It's a double,
Just wanna make sure I
it's a
understand.
double negative. So Mrs. Taylor, then Aaron, Mr. Ketchum in the back.
Well, my question was the same. But
Then the answer
now
is the
that
same.
he's asked that, when we come to town meeting, do we have to bring that up, or will it automatically come, will you automatically say something before the vote?
So Mr. Justin Duval will, as the chairman of the finance committee, as we've had in the past, will hold the article.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna provide the amendment, what the new values would be, and then we're also gonna have a discussion on why we did it.
Okay, hold on,
And you're
Diane.
gonna really go into detail why you're doing it, so that
Absolutely.
people aren't confused.
Absolutely,
Because there was a confusion many years ago
absolutely.
on this.
We will not
You know about it.
We, no, I know, but we will
Yeah.
not confuse you.
Okay, hold on. Aaron, hold on.
That was my same
Aaron,
question.
you're all set? Mr. Ketchum?
If we vote no on Article 4, or for that matter, Article 5, would not that mean that there is no salary for these people, and there is no budget for the town,
Yes.
since that's what no means?
Right, so it will be, as Ms. Cuccinetti said, it will be very clear on Monday. I'm just.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I hope it's clear by Monday.
But anyway, it will be very clear to you on Tuesday, why it happened, what is happening, and the vote, and the way it
So
is.
what
I'm
would-
just trying to really avoid getting into any inkling of a discussion that may result in, like, we're trying to vote on something.
Well, no, I wouldn't want that at all, but it said I can presume we'll actually see an amendment offered to
That's
both
very-
of
a
these
very good
articles
thought. Yes.
in writing, so we know
Yes.
what differences we're being asked.
You are on the right track, Mr. Ketchum.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so wait, there, Diane?
Mine goes back to Article 1,
Oh,
to choose other town officials. Are there any?
no, that used to be the measures of fences and the measures of wooden bark, which is like a revolutionary war type thing that's stuck with the town for years.
So it's there, but
It's there, it's just the. annual
unnecessary,
article.
okay.
It's unnecessary. Kathy,
No, my question was answered.
Peter?
All right, just a little confused. So my understanding is there's going to be an amendment proposed to this. Will it be available in writing, or will numbers be read to us that we then need to understand?
No, well, I think you'll have it in writing.
Where,
It has to be
Yes.
given to,
it will be in writing, because it has to be in writing, because it's an amendment. And after it is amended and it's out there, we will.
Provide you.
We will take 5 minutes and pass this all out to everybody. The tellers are going to be busy that night.
So just to add to this, that the base for these warrants are the selectmen's budget. So the town administrator and his staff put together a budget to present to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen reviews the budget, and they make a decision on a final budget to move to the Finance Committee. So Ken and myself, we went to the Finance Committee, explained the Selectmen's budget. The Finance Committee did not agree with everything that we brought forward. So what will happen at the town meeting, if this is your first time, is that someone will hold the article, and then we'll go back, okay, and the moderator will say, Article 4 was held by Mr. So-and-so. They will come up to the mic and say, I want to, well, then the Finance Committee chair will come up and say, we don't agree with this article. And then I would imagine, as been stated, that someone will come up and say why, and offer an amendment to change that. They can say why they don't agree with it, or they can have an amendment. An amendment can be discussed. If that amendment wants to move forward, they would have to write it on a piece of paper. They need to bring it to the moderator. The moderator checks with legal counsel. The moderator checks with us so we can see what the financial impact is. And then we can say, we're good, they're good, then we can vote on that amendment, and that will cause change, whatever that may be, and then we'll vote for the full article. Everything else is good, we're going to vote it through.
Correct.
So that's what you expect at the meeting itself.
But to be clear, it's you are going to have a physical piece of paper in your hand so that it's not just talking. But initially, to what Mr. Duval said, this Mr. Duval will be doing the majority of the talking on it, and then we will stop, hand out the changes so that you can physically see the changes and you'll understand what it is and answer any additional questions. Because once you see it, you may have additional questions.
And just to add that, that's for those articles, but if we got to Article whatever, Article, I'm not sure what it is, Article 10, and somebody is not for it, and they would like to see something change on it, that's on the fly. They can come up and say, I do not agree with this article, I would like to see this number reduced for whatever reasons, and I would like to offer that as amendment. And that's not gonna be ready for you before the meeting. So
Yeah.
they're gonna state it, they're gonna have to write it down on the
They
fly,
gotta
if they
write
don't
it
have
down.
it. And then we have to wait for that to happen, then they go to the moderator, and the whole process happens, and that's, which is fine, that's democracy. We stop everything, we figure everything out, and then we come back and say, yes, we can move forward with this amendment, and then we have our discussions and vote on the amendment and so on. So there's a couple of these articles that we've already talked through these with the Finance Committee, and I believe there's a plan to have a amendment ready to go. But others, it can happen to any article, it can happen on the fly.
Right.
So be ready for that too.
And again, we have pen and paper there at the meeting. So if beforehand you can't think about what you want, or you hear something and you've decided you want to amend an article, get up out of your seat, come up, get a piece of paper and a pen, write it all down, and then we will go to whatever amendment is. We vote, it's always vote the amendments, up or down, and then it's back to the article, either as amended or failed. I'll get there, Eugene, Diane.
Again, not about salaries, back to Article 2. Are there any reports from the Board of Selectmen and town officers that we will be asked to act upon?
None that we are aware of for this meeting.
So maybe that, what the special meeting was last night about advisory committee won't be discussed?
There's a possibility, from what I understand from Mr. Duval, that it will possibly get discussed.
I will be discussing briefly, the last town meeting we conducted, the special town meeting, was a discussion about the Greylock Glen, help me out here. Commission, thank you. The Greylock Glen Commission. The town meeting members voted that down, and I indicated I would come back with with something different, let's say. The board did meet last night. We did bring up the possibility of an advisory committee, but it hasn't been approved by the board yet. You probably see it in the newspapers. But that is not to be discussed because the board hasn't voted on it. We don't have it in final form.
Right.
And it's not a warrant article tomorrow night. So I will report on what has happened since the special town meeting on that. And then the only other thing would be is that the last town meeting, we had an article to, the town meeting members would give the selectmen the authority to sell the memorial building, the former middle school. And that is 99.9% complete. So I'm wondering, if we go there on Tuesday, if the town doesn't own it anymore, they'll let us in. But that, it will be the only other update I'll discuss is, since the last meeting, that the last legislative body did give us the authority to sell it, and that's what we have done, which will be 30-plus apartments. It's going to be built there. You've probably seen it in the paper, but I'll also probably say a few words about that also. But that'll be it, because we have to keep to the warrant articles for discussion. So I'll give an update during that time.
Okay, so would you prefer to do that under Article 2 as a place to do that?
Yeah, I think that's, the reports of the Board of Selectmen, yes. I will I may provide the minutes of last night's meeting
Okay.
and say this is a report, but we're working towards, but there's no decision made.
Okay.
And then the Memorial School will just be a voice update,
Okay.
indicating that it has been, well, all we need left to do is to provide the signatures from the Board of Selectmen. The papers, I think, is available. We just need to sign it, and it is done. Probably be done before the end of the week. And when we go in there, that will be the future town's gym and surrounding area is going to be what the town's going to be, the community center. But we're not, I don't want to get a lot of detail at that point, but we sold the building.
All right, so Tuesday night, Mr. Duval will hold Article 2.
I'll hold Article 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Okay, somebody over here, Eugene.
Going back to your education about procedures of town meeting, I remember the days where you were actually voting on the recommendations. And if there is no recommendation, you have to get a motion from the floor for that, so that there's never an issue. There's always, if there's no recommendation, the moderator has to get a motion from the floor for the thing to go forward.
For a particular article you're talking about?
Anything that's not recommended by the finance committee. If
But
there's no
that's not-
recommendation,
it's not
you
no
have to get a motion
recommendation.
from the floor to go
But
forward with that
it's
article.
not recommended as opposed to Article 22 that has no recommendation, which is because, so no recommendation would be the article from the floor, Article 22. The Finance Committee did make a recommendation on Article 4 to not recommend.
And it's a denial, right?
So as opposed to the
No
citizens petition is no recommendation. So you're right, no recommendation requires a vote from the floor.
A motion.
There is, or motion, the not recommended is their motion, or it'll be amended or whatever. But there is a motion or a recommendation to not recommend it.
Okay.
Okay? How's everybody doing? Good? Howard?
Yes. Just a point of clarification. If the finance committee is not going to, says not recommend, what is the role of the finance committee then in submitting the articles, the warrants? Just to help me understand, what I gather is the town staff has come forward with the budget.
Correct.
And I thought that was the input to the finance committee, and the finance committee would take those numbers.
And they did.
Okay.
Carol?
So, in this case,
Yeah.
the select board gave us the budget and said, here you go.
Okay.
Okay, so after that, after they gave us the budget, we reviewed the warrant articles and said, wait, we don't agree with all of these.
Okay.
So theoretically, Howard, it would be nice if we had the budget before, right?
Okay.
Before, so we could vote on it kind of together and then agree on the warrants.
That's why I was confused.
Right, I agree with you. That maybe is the process that we should be using, right? Instead of, here's the budget, oops, we don't recommend it, and then confuse everybody, right? So we should probably think about changing the process.
Okay.
Just for clarity, are we voting on the articles themselves or on the recommendations?
The recommendations of the Finance Committee.
Okay, so then if they vote not to recommend, but we did want to pass the article, we would have to vote no. Okay.
So, but I would tell you, this is how, because I hate these things, the way they're worded. So I will be very clear with, if you agree with the recommendation of the Finance Committee, you will vote yes. If you disagree with the Finance Committee's recommendation, you vote no.
So a little bit of me, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but we will have an amendment to these articles. And our amendments will say, the Finance Committee recommends this, okay? So we can vote on our, help me, our recommendation, right? So that clarifies everything.
So you're gonna amend 4 and 5?
We are gonna say, 4, this is, we don't agree with this is what we feel, and this is what we'd like you to
So
vote on.
here's the fix.
So here's the fix.
Okay.
Okay?
I got you now.
And trust me, it will be very clear what that fix is.
Maybe you should have put that in here.
I know.
I mean, there should always be a
Sorry,
reason why you don't recommend something.
It's all about process, right? And so-
But the amendments are to the article, not to the recommendation?
Well, no, because it's,
The amendments will be to the article, and then we
the
will
numbers
ask.
will be to the, in the article. The amendment will be to the recommendation.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah, it's confusing.
No, don't be confused.
Yeah, let's not
Really
try to
easy.
get-
I will tell you that it will all become very clear on Tuesday, when you see it all in writing. I promise. Mr. Ketchum.
Well, I just have one point about this.
Excuse me.
At town
See,
meeting,
this, I can't. Diane?
at town meeting, you're going to have 150 people, maybe a few less. Most of whom weren't here.
Correct.
It's very important that people know how they're voting. And one of the basic rules of articles was always, if you vote yes, you're voting to pass the article. If you vote no, you're voting not to pass the article. All the talk about, well, finance recommends this, that people have to understand, yes is for the article, no is not. I mean, talk to your counsel or whatever, but basic, don't confuse the people at town meeting,
It is
or
my
you'll have a
intention to
disaster.
not confuse
I
the
know
people.
that's your most dearly held desire, but please get into, if you vote yes for the finance recommendation, it's no on the article. That's a very good way to get people extremely confused.
Noted. Okay, anything else on Article 4? So depending on what happens on Article 4, we'll get to Article 5. Now, this is the beginning of the omnibus articles. This is the operating omnibus article. It kind of encompasses all the spending, both for personal services and operating expenses. Okay, here we go. So, if Article 4 changes, then Article 5 is going to change because of things like compensation, salaries, things like that.
Total, the personal services will be changed if, depending on what happens with Article 4, and then obviously, since Article 5 is not recommended, there are other items that could change.
It's not all just about salaries, though.
No, there are operating,
There are
the
some
operating expenses side of things also.
Yep. Yes, Diane?
Question about our town administrator, is it anywhere in this booklet, this finance, about what you're paying for the consultant?
There's nothing picked out, that's coming out of this year.
Okay.
These
Is that
are
something,
signed
is that something you can
It's not about the.
disclose?
No, I can't talk about that, it's not about, we're only here about this in particular. That'd be something you would need to reach out to the town administrator's office.
Call Diane if you want to know what it is.
I can call.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You can stop me after the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Dan?
No.
I just have a question.
I'll speak right from the back after. Go ahead, you're first.
I just, personal services is what, salary?
Salaries, health insurance,
Oh, health insurance.
Workers' comp,
workers' comp, all that kind of
employment.
good
Okay.
stuff. Yes, I'm sorry, your name?
Natasha.
Natasha.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good to be here. So we're going to be receiving amendments, obviously, on these articles at the town meeting. So if we vote not to pass the amendment, then we would revert back to vote on the budget as originally presented, correct?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, anything else on Article 5? Yes?
Yeah, if something in one of the later articles gets amended, would that necessitate us to revisit Article 5, or it's just totally separate?
No.
Okay.
Nothing else in the other articles would be affected here, other than Article 4, which we would already pass.
Okay. Thank you.
So, nothing else on 5? We'll go to 6.
6 goes, but 6 is within its own budget.
Okay.
So 6
It's
is
completely taken out of here, sorry.
sewer, no, you're fine. So the sewer enterprise fund. So what is an enterprise fund? It gives communities the flexibility to account separately for all the financial activities associated with a broad range of municipal services. To note here, town meeting voted to adopt an enterprise fund for the wastewater treatment plant in June of 2022. And this article is to appropriate the expenditures from the enterprise fund, and this is the wastewater treatment plant.
Correct.
Correct. So again, Article 4 and then Article 5, then there will be a change in line 1, personal expenses, in Article 6.
Maybe.
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 It all depends on what happens with Article 5.
Can you explain that? I'm sorry.
Jeff, yeah.
Just explain what you just said.
So there will be some, if Article 4 passes, Article 5 is being held because there are going to be some additional changes in Article 5 that will result in a change to personnel expenses in Article 6. Okay? Is that clear? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead, Howard.
So this article in no way puts in jeopardy the viability of the enterprise fund. There will be an
No.
enterprise fund.
No. No. Enterprise fund stays.
Yes, it's just affecting one line item, but it's not gonna affect the fund itself.
Okay, so we will be in compliance with that, the loan we took from the state?
Yes, we'll still think that will be still fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Ready to move on? Ashley?
I have a town meeting member as not as a finance director. Will all the town meeting members be able to understand, since obviously we go through each article, they're gonna wanna know, because I've been asked out in the streets of exactly how it's going to be handled, because if they don't know what's happening in 5 and 6, if they pass this, and then they might get confused on how it's all gonna work, because all 3 of the articles go together. I'm just wondering if there's gonna be any, maybe a quick discussion of why all 3 articles, because in hindsight, they are intertwined.
Yes.
Okay, they've been asked me, and I said it's not, it was the
Yes.
finance committee's, not recommending, so it would be, so I just wanted to make sure that I share that information.
To make it very clear.
Before
about-
they vote.
Before, probably in the discussion of the first article, we
Okay.
will make it very clear about why we are discussing what we're, changing what was presented to us.
My next thing is just because obviously we're not allowed to talk about other articles when we're speaking about one article. But in this case, because it's so intertwined, will that be something that's like an
I
exception?
think it'll be really clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's clear. That doesn't always mean it's clear to everybody.
And so town meeting members, you have the right to ask if you really don't understand.
Right.
And I'm begging, I'll
Please
beg,
ask.
please
Yeah,
stop
ask.
it, stand up, ask. Because I don't want anyone leaving there confused or thinking that, they did something wrong. Stop us, ask us. Town council will be there to help iron out anything in that respect. The chairman of the board of selectmen will be able to talk about his side, the chairman of the finance committee, probably, Carol will probably be able to answer questions, and obviously Ashley and Mr. Walto. So,
So this is why we should probably have the budget together, so this doesn't happen, right? Because this is gonna.
Are you talking about the finance?
Yeah, finance and the select board. Yeah, we need to figure that process out, right? So it's not so confusing, because this could get really confusing. It's not a huge change, you'll
So
see.
is it a problem? Can I speak? Is it a problem because the select board did something first and without the finance committee or the finance committee?
So let's just say this. The process that was followed this year has been the historic process.
Always.
Always. At a separate meeting, there should be discussion, but it shouldn't be here because it does not pertain to this meeting. But the process was followed the way it's been followed for years. If there are going to be any changes to the process, that should be taken outside of this meeting between the two parties involved.
And because I've never seen 3 articles
Right.
so close. This is like a,
Right. But I want to be
A
very
cluster
clear that
bomb.
we need to, because this is all the fun we're having test. We're going to stick to what we're here for.
Mhm.
These kinds of discussions need to be had by the right parties, okay? All right, let's move on to the capital omnibus article. This is for capital spending in fiscal year '26. It's recommended $411,675 in spending. $30,000 of that spend will come from the technology fund. You'll see what is being spent in capital on pages 12 and 13. And as much as you like my voice, I really don't think I need to read it to you. So, any questions? All right, nothing else on Article 7. Article 8 is capital infrastructure and equipment outlay from free cash. This is going to be to purchase infrastructure and equipment utilizing the monies from free cash. The amount that's being recommended for fiscal year '26 is $248,000, and that is outlined on page 14. Desktop computers, a police cruiser, truck lift, snowplows. Questions? Okay. This article is typically held by a member of Precinct 3. This is the regional school assessment for Hoosick Valley Regional School District. The recommendation is $6,620,400 from the town. And how it is broken down, what makes up our assessment is listed on page 15. Questions about Hoosick Valley Regional School District?
only on the number of their graduates this year.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. You should feel free, you can direct those questions to Mr. Dean.
I know, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
I'm not.
Article 10, Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District, fiscal year '26 recommendation, $1,069,566, broken down into 3 sections on page 15. No questions on that. Okay, then we get into transfers to special funds, Articles 11, 12, 13, and 14. Article 11 takes into account the use of moving money from free cash to offset the tax rate. This year, the recommendation is $250,000. Question on Article 11? Article 12 is the reserve fund. The balance in the reserve fund currently for fiscal year 2025 is $100,000, and that would go into the stabilization fund. Okay. The reserve, this is the reserve fund? Yes. Article 13 is the recommendation to use $175,000 to go into the reserve fund, which gives the town some flexibility to meet any operational emergencies. This is voted on by the Finance Committee. Okay. The Board of Selectmen makes the recommendation to the Finance Committee approves it, and then it gets spent. Question on that? Article 14, there are currently no outstanding bills, but this does give the treasurer, to pay any unpaid bills.
For previous
Money.
years.
Okay. Anything? Okay, annual authorization articles. This, Articles 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. The first one is to allow community development to apply for block grant money. Okay. Article 16, the Board of Selectmen to apply for the United States Department of Agriculture under the Community Facilities Grant Program. Okay. Article 17, perpetual care funds, to use whatever monies we receive for perpetual care, to be deposited into the perpetual care account, currently $9,500. Article 18 is to allow the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow in the event that we have a revenue shortfall. Article 19 is to authorize the revolving spend limits. So these are the limits that have been voted on at past town meetings. And so it allows for spending from these funds up to the amount. It's in your book on page 17. Question? Okay. Article 20 is the compensation plan for those non-represented employees that don't fall under collective bargaining agreements, correct? Okay. Question? Yep, Natasha.
So it looks like the finance committee recommended the salary tables. Is that impacted at all by their not recommending the other operating budget, personnel expenses?
No. Other questions? Okay, Article 21, special articles. This is the Economic Development Fund, and this will see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Economic Development Fund $80,000 for the payroll expenses of the Executive Director of the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center through the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And questions on this article?
I guess I have one. What is the Economic Development Fund? Is that a chunk of money that government gives it?
When did we establish the Economic Development Fund?
Where'd it come from?
It's meals tax.
It's meals and.
Oh, it's meals tax?
It's
It's
meals
been
and hotel
established.
tax.
I don't know the timing, I would actually get that information.
Been quite a few years now.
Yes.
Is that, I have a question,
Yeah.
is that 80,000 augmenting, or is that's not the whole budget for that salary, right?
No, it is a 80-20 split for that, for the director. 80% comes out of the economic development fund, 20% is funded by the town. Which you would see, it's mixed together with the other employee, which you will see in Article 5, under the Greylock Glen, under the personal services. So it will only be 20% of the director and 100% of the building, the superintendent.
So that means the new director we're hiring, we're planning to spend 100,000?
This was developed prior to knowing the director was leaving.
Not 700,000.
What?
Which is 700,000.
No.
She said 100. 100.
Oh.
100.
No, this was.
700 would be, I know why.
Yeah. No, everything was just developed prior to knowing, so this was already posted. There's not, if I'm not mistaken, Haley can tell me if I'm wrong, there's not much going back into this. Because everything was already posted. We can't like amend it or.
Right, correct.
I mean, someone wants to amend it, that's their choice, obviously, but I can't go in and just change the book.
Right. Depending on what happens.
Yes, so
Right.
if someone could obviously amend it at the meeting, that is every town meeting's member's choice, but this
No,
is how
but
it's written.
If someone is hired,
They have these options
these options are available.
Right.
to the board of selectmen and town administrator.
Okay.
Do you have a question, Ben?
Andrew?
So what's the difference between that fund and then the fund in Article 19, the Greylock Glen revolving fund?
That is where all the flow from, if you rent the Greylock Glen, any payments, that's what, it goes into the revolving fund. Any use of the Greylock Glen is the best way to put it.
Okay.
But that's not used to pay for the employee. If we were to use a revolving fund, we'd have to pay 100% of that employee out of the revolving fund, including benefits, which obviously it just got established. There's not enough funds for that.
So there are different funding sources
Yeah.
for each fund. One is meals and lodging taxes, and the other one is revenues derived from use of the Glen.
Got it, okay.
So this is, sorry,
Okay, Eugene, and then. Go ahead,
First,
Eugene, yeah.
So I thought revolving funds were set up because before, when any money came in, they always had to go to the general fund, and these people had to go back to the general fund to get money. I know with the library, we would get, it would go to the general fund and come back to us, so they established these revolving funds, so the money goes directly to the departments and not to the general fund. Is that, just to clarify?
Right, those
how this all
revenue
works?
sources, correct, those revenue
You're right.
sources that you're referring to will go to a revolving fund as opposed to going to the general fund. Did everybody understand that?
That money can't be used in the operating budget except for that specific thing. So that money, the Greylock Glen revolving fund money, that income can only be used for Greylock Glen operating and personnel services.
And these
No,
numbers
only
are-
what it was
I'm sorry, not
established, only
personnel.
what it was established for.
Sorry.
And these
When it was originally established, any of the
But it
revolving
can't go to
funds.
the general fund.
Correct.
Correct.
It's,
And these numbers are only limits.
so these are limits, these
Right.
are what's in the account,
How
so
much money they can bring into this.
this
fund
is all that can be
before it goes
spent
to the
out of
general
it.
fund.
So even if the account had $100,000 on it and had a $20,000 spending limit, you can only use $20,000. But if there's not $20,000 in there, we can't spend $20,000 just because we have a spending limit. We can only spend what's in there. That was a little confusion, I think, at the special town meeting, that because we established $50,000 for the Greylock Glen, if there's not $50,000 in there, we can't spend $50,000. We can only spend what's in there. And the limit, though, is the $50,000. As long as everyone understands that.
Yes.
So this is just strictly for payroll related to
The
this
director.
role.
Yes.
If there is nobody in the seat, like, in relation thereto, that would be things like job posting, like, stuff like that, or is it just strictly for the future payroll of that individual?
We would be, this is budgeting for that position only.
Okay,
In this case, because the way, especially the way it's written, it can only be used for that.
got it, okay,
Does that answer your question?
yes.
Okay, Diane?
Diane?
Yeah, my question is, the salary of the Greylock Glen executive director this year, is he paid from town funds or from the Economic Development Fund currently?
Both.
That's a mixture.
80% comes out of the Economic Development Fund for his payroll, and 20% is budgeted within Article 5.
All right. And can I just clarify for myself and my friend, because I might have misspoken to her. My idea of a revolving loan fund, of a revolving fund, is that there's money coming and going into that fund. Yes?
Only if we need to use it.
Okay.
Money is coming in, the building's
For
being
rentals?
rented,
Yes, so it's coming in and going out.
Only if something needs to be paid out of it.
Okay,
It's not just a flow where something's automatically coming out of it.
okay. So it can get bigger than that, obviously.
These are just.
Oh, this is just a spending limit.
No,
As much,
absolutely.
100,000 could go in there, but
Okay.
only 50 can be spent out of it
Okay, I think I know.
within a
But I'm
fiscal
not
year.
sure.
So within the fiscal year, in the Greylock Glen, say there's 120,000 in that fund, we can only spend 50,000 in the fiscal year out of that fund. Doesn't matter that there's all that extra money, yay, but we can't spend it. Okay?
Okay.
Is everybody clear on revolving funds?
Yes.
Yes.
Except it's not 50,000, it's 80,000.
Well,
No, that's a different fund.
This is economic development, we were talking revolving.
Got it.
I know, we kind of went back and forth.
Here is it. Okay, all right. Okay, so on this year's our warrant, we do have Article 22, which is the citizens petition. You can see what is being asked on the citizens petition. Now, to Eugene's earlier question, the Finance Committee made no recommendation on this article. So if this article is going to be discussed and if there's going to be a motion, it has to be held. Okay? So It's the only way we can deal with that one. Mr. Duval.
So last evening, we had some discussion in regards to this, and I misspoke. In talking to legal counsel today, the citizens petition, because it is asking the executive branch, or directing the, or whatever word you want to use, to the executive branch, the town meeting legislative branch cannot direct the executive branch to hold meetings, to do certain agendas, whatever it may be. They can suggest, they can advise they would like to see this happen. So that's what the citizens petition will be. It's going to be an advisory petition that, if passed, it'll be presented to the Board of Selectmen, and they will make a decision based on this if they want to to integrate this into a agenda as requested. So it's not, if it passes, this is what has to happen. It's an advisory decision, and the board will make a determination of what they're going to do if it does so pass.
I just
Yes.
don't understand what you just said. So last night you said it was illegal because the town meeting could not vote to have the select board be required to have meetings about anything. That's how I understood what you said, that it was not legal. I don't understand how that's different from what you're saying now.
There isn't a lot of difference. I shouldn't have used the word illegal.
But you said you misspoke, so how did you misspoke?
I misspoke in saying that, I said it was like illegal, that we would probably want to vote this down because we can't do it. However, in talking with town council today, as I promised I would from last night, that this petition that is asking the select board to, on a monthly basis, I believe, to discuss these items at a meeting, it's only an advisory petition. The Board of Selectmen does not take direction in regards to agendas or what they discuss at meetings from the legislative branch to town meeting. We do, so I'm going to stick to this. So it's just an advice, and he'll be there, and I'll hold this. And,
I'm not a town meeting member.
oh, anyways, I will hold this to ensure that the legal counsel gets up and explains this in legal terms, and that's what he had told me today. So I'll hold this myself if nobody else does, and we'll have legal counsel speak to it and explain the reasoning why it's just an advisory petition and not a directive to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, but it isn't an advisory petition. It's not worded that way, and it doesn't say it's an advisory petition.
Correct, but the legal counsel indicates that that's what it will be. And again,
But what it will be if it's amended, or what it will be?
So what will
Regardless.
happen is Tuesday night, John will hold the article, we'll go to town council for his explanation. Then there can be a motion from the floor as to what we're going to do based on what they hear. There's going to end the motion, second, and more discussion. Okay?
And were you able to get, I think you said you were going to try to get something in writing?
yeah, we didn't meet until about 4 o'clock today, by the time he was free. So he didn't have time to write something up, but he will explain it on Tuesday evening, and we'll ensure that everyone understands what they're voting on. It's a non-binding decision, but we'll let him discuss it.
Peter?
I have two questions, and I've been asked to be the person to present this. I wrote the first draft of this resolution, which ironically did not use the word require. So if it solves a lot of complexity, if there's any amendments to the word require, if the town's going to interpret as advisory, I'd be happy to talk to anyone about, on the select board or the town council. We could simplify things and not have to have a complicated debate. I'd be happy to propose an amendment to fix the required word. I'll leave that to any members of the select board or town council to let me know.
I just think that, and I'm not a lawyer, but I just believe that no matter what you use for wording, it's still just going to be a non-binding petition. It will, so non-binding. It's the select board does not need, if passed, this is not a directive to the selectmen. It is a advisory to the selectmen, per his words. And that's what he has stated. So Tuesday is a time where we can get some good discussion on this, and if it ends up being that way, then fine. But we'll
You
see
can
on
come
Tuesday.
prepared. Okay.
My second question is, if there's anything else in this citizen's petition that the select board would like changed that would make it easier to support and do, does the select board know that they can call me?
What the select board, well, I'll discuss this on Tuesday, but we have another avenue to have this covered on a monthly basis. So we're not just gonna say no. We don't have to decide that night either, but I will bring up a suggestion that night after legal counsel speaks. And that's not gonna be voted, but at least we're trying to find a way to be able to work with this petition, but go by the law, right? And so we'll talk more on Tuesday. I can't debate this, but.
Oh, I'm not asking you to debate it, my question was, just make sure the select board knows that if there's some sticking point in some detail halfway through this.
I would say come prepared
On Tuesday,
with that. Aaron? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So since the article as written in the warrant does use the word require, would that then mean that we would need to, in order to change it to be legal, that would need to come from an amendment?
If you wanted to change language, yes.
No, it's not illegal. It's not illegal,
Okay.
it's just
Yeah.
not binding.
Right.
Right. But if somebody wanted to amend to your question to change the language, yes, and then we would vote the amendment.
But it's still not
But to
binding.
John's point, it won't make a
But
difference.
it doesn't make a difference. But if that's what you want to do, go for it. Town council will address this and be really very clear on the best way to handle that. Yes.
Okay, just to
And
play
I'm
back
sorry,
in my
what
head.
was your name?
Andy.
Andy.
So, town meeting is considered I guess, the legislature,
Yeah.
legislative arm. The issue is that the select board represents the executive, and the legislative can't make a directive of the executive. Is that the issue?
Yes.
Okay. I had no idea that separation of powers was a thing in town government.
Welcome to government.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to clarify though, that doesn't mean the select board can't go ahead and do it. It just means they cannot be compelled by the town
Exactly.
meeting to
Yeah.
do so. So they could go, okay, if that's what you want, sure, or they could go, we're gonna ignore that. Okay, yeah, I mean,
Non-binding is the phrase. Yes, Corinne.
A brief detail. I really am pleased to see this nebulous concept of what we have up at the Glen spelled out under this petition of Article 22. The Greylock Glen Outdoor Recreation and Environmental Center, also known as the Glen Project. I think this whole booklet should at least spell that out for legalese, the entity itself, and then go into the more vernacular of the Glen Project. Just a suggestion, English teacher thing.
Anything else on the citizens petition? Okay, now my favorite article, Article 23, to transact any other business that may legally come before the town meeting. If this article isn't held, it gets voted in mass, which would mean at the end of whatever discussion there was on Article 22, I would call for a motion to dissolve the town meeting. Have it seconded. All in favor? No, you're not going to win this one. The town meeting would be dissolved, and then we're done for another year. If it gets held, then whoever holds it will have an opportunity to speak, but again, they must follow the rules and such.
I'm sorry, Marta, are you talking about Article 23 right now? Or
Yeah,
Article 22?
Article 23.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have any other questions?
Any other questions? Yeah.
Are there any sort of meeting minutes sent out after to the town meeting members? Just on
I don't
a version of what happened?
I don't typically send them out.
But
Yeah, if anybody wants to. they can
if
call
anybody
us.
wants them,
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
So there are meeting minutes taken?
Yeah, there's votes taken, yeah. Yeah.
So there's meeting minutes taken of this town?
Yeah, the votes, yes. Yep.
Did you post on the?
I don't post them on the website, but if anybody's certainly interested in them, as soon as, let me know, and when they're done, I can certainly send them to you.
I mean, the meeting's recorded,
It is.
so anybody could just go back and look at the.
They could.
Back and look at the tape.
Because you're just saying the vote, you're
I'm
not
not-
going into detail.
Right,
of the
I'm not
discussion.
necessarily
Okay.
going into major detail, I'm really
I feel like it's
concerned,
meetings.
I'm really concerned about the votes and what happens with each article, because that's what our auditors are concerned about. That's what, if I had to send them anywhere to the state level, that's what they're concerned about. They're concerned about the vote of what happened. We don't have any bylaw amendments, that's something very, popular. When I have to send it to the AG's office, I have to have the actual vote of what happened with those bylaws that go to the AG.
Yeah, Eugene?
I don't want to make this meeting any longer, but would you want to describe exactly what free cash is, stabilization fund, and reserve fund are?
Ashley?
I mean, that's where all our money, well, our
What did
money
you-
comes from.
I think in the back of the
I think
book,
in the glossary, there's
I
a,
guess it's described.
in the glossary.
am I trying to get out, but I know that there is quite a bit in there.
Yeah, stabilization's in there,
Free
free,
cash is leftover funds from the previous budget year.
Pages 20 and 21.
Cash stabilization.
If you're looking for
And the reserve fund.
balances, they're on page 26.
Page 26 in your book, if you look at the back here.
There's many different, the operating budget is broken down. You'll have economic development fund, estimated sources and uses of funds, fund balances available for appropriation of other available funds, proposed free cash usage, reserve funds.
So the free cash, isn't that what was certified for the last fiscal year?
Correct.
So that's for the previous fiscal year is what you're seeing there. Doesn't include anything that since then. And we have to wait until the state certifies it, and that takes time usually. The stabilization fund, we've had at $1 million, and that was our goal, to keep it over $1 million. We have gone less than that, so that's a concern. What's the other one?
Reserve.
Those are-
How they get spent is different too.
The reserve fund, yes. All of them.
Yep,
Yep.
everything's pretty broken
And
down.
it's all, if you look on 26, and then I think it's.
What are you looking for?
Oh, okay. That one.
These are estimated, these are estimated. It says estimated.
I mean, certainly if anybody has any questions before Tuesday, feel free to reach out to the town administrator's office. Or the finance director's office. My phone number is not listed, no. Feel free to call my office too, and if I don't know the answer, I certainly can reach out and get the answer.
And again, if for some reason you are not going to be able to make town meeting, please notify Haley ahead of time. We do have some people who've already notified her, they are excused, so. Otherwise, we'll see you there Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Oh, your number is on.
Because it's my.
No,
Haley.
That's why you're not meeting on Monday.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.